Hi, welcome back to Only Ali. I'm Ali and today we're talking As Above, So Below. I'm meant to be doing this for school, but I figured I would upload it on here anyway, and it's also actually easier for me to just do that. As Above, So Below is a movie about a group of young explorers going in to try and solve a mystery in the catacombs. The catacombs of Paris are believed to span about 321 kilometers. The catacombs are basically underground tunnels home to the remains of about 6 million people. Only about a mile of the catacombs are legal to go in for a tour. The rest of the catacombs are not very hard to find a way into, but are also very dangerous and quite illegal. Some of the most dangerous things in the catacombs consist of unstable ceilings, collapsed tunnels, and homeless people, known as the Rat People. The movie As Above, So Below came out in 2014. The movie is filmed on cameras that have the perspective of being attached to the characters' heads, and the whole movie was filmed in the real catacombs, which was apparently the first movie to do so, with permission from the French government, of course. In this movie, Scarlet, played by Perdita Weeks, is a young scholar who's basically perfect. She has 2 PhDs, 1 master, speaks 6 languages, 2 of which are dead languages, breaks the law often, always gets away with it, but her one weakness is that her dad was basically obsessed with searching for the Philosopher's Stone. Scarlet continues her late father's quest for the Philosopher's Stone, something that looks just like a rock but is said to bring endless wealth and eternal life. Alchemist Nicholas Flamel was the one who discovered it, but after he died, no one knew where him or the stone went. But of course, he left behind some clues, and Scarlet made it her life mission to continue her dad's quest. She travelled to Paris recruiting her former lover George, who's played by Ben Feldman, and even if you're not into horror movies, you should watch this anyway for Ben. Cameraman Benji, played by Edwin Hodge, and unfortunately Benji, for no real reason, just has the worst time ever in the catacombs. Using codes from the key, they solve a riddle on the alchemist Nicholas Flamel's headstone, leading them to the catacombs of Paris. Scarlet tries to reach the location on an official tour, but it's off limits. A stranger introduces them to a guy named Papillon, played by Francois Civil, who agrees to take them into the catacombs as long as he gets half of the treasure. He takes them to an off-limits entrance along with his friends Suxi and Zed, who all spend a lot of time exploring the catacombs. Straight away in the movie, as soon as they're about to get into the catacombs, an officer jumps on Papillon to try and stop them from going into the catacombs because, of course, it's illegal. They have to immediately get into the catacombs to avoid being arrested, so they all jump in, including George. George the whole time had been refusing to go into the catacombs, but now he has to. And then Papillon pulls out a smoke bomb, throwing it at the officer to escape. And keep in mind, you have got to pack lightly and smartly down here. Food, water, first aid, things you might need to survive because you never know what will happen down there. But this bitch pulls out a smoke bomb. But you know,
police will never catch Papillon.
Inside the catacombs, they encounter singing female cults and a bunch of other really strange activities. The group faces challenges, including a blocked tunnel that Scarlet wants to use. Papillon warns that people who go through that tunnel disappear, like his friend Latoupe, aka the Mole, is among the missing. They end up having to crawl through a pile of skeleton remains, which is where Benji gets stuck, because of course there is a lot of tiny passages, but this part just gets so messy. Benji's panicking, people are frantic trying to help, Scarlet won't shut the fuck up. The cult is still singing in the background, it's all getting a bit chaotic and really overwhelming, but Benji's actor really well portrayed the emotions that you'd be feeling in this moment. Like, he was not, he gave me anxiety. And just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. The cave starts collapsing, but luckily Benji makes it out just in time. And that's when they see the exact same door they just passed to get in there. Now they are immediately thinking that Papillon's messing with them, and they're getting very angry because they have no other choice but to just kick down that door and go through again, which is where they see Papillon's tag, as in like his graffiti tag. They all start saying, "You've been here before, like what do you mean you haven't been here?" And he's just really confused and he's insisting like, "No, I haven't been here, I have no idea what's going on." That's when they hear a telephone ring in the distance. Pap tells them that they used to run telephone lines in here, but 50 years ago they removed everything and nothing should still be working. This is where it gets weird and it doesn't stop getting weirder. Then they walk into a room and they find an old piano, which is just like the one that George used to play with his brother when he was a kid. But when George was a kid, his piano, one of the keys didn't work properly, so he starts playing this song that him and his brother used to play only to realize the same key doesn't work. At this point, Pup is like, let's get out of here. He has no idea what's going on, but he knows they need to leave. But of course, Scarlet is so obsessed with finding the stone that she is not going to leave. The phone starts ringing again, and Scarlet goes running to find it. She picks up the phone, and then some really weird talking happens.
Hello?
Why would you talk to me, Scarlet?
Scarlet, hang up. Hang up the phone, Scarlet.
Why won't you talk to me?
Where's this?
That's when they bump into Latope, aka the mole man, who they thought was dead and he had gone missing in the catacombs. He's alive and fine, but he's just acting really weird. But he tells him he knows how to leave. And this is a weird part. If he knows how to leave, why has he never left? It all just is really weird and confusing. They start following him and they keep following him until he tells them the only way to get out is to keep going down, which really makes no sense. There is this huge hole, basically like a well that they have to go down, and Benji's the last to go down. They've all made it down with their rope safely there, but Benji's clip breaks and he falls almost to his death. He is lucky he didn't die. Now, I don't know what the writers in this movie had against Benji, but they did not want him to have a good time down there. So they get up, they keep going, and then the sound kind of just goes away, and all of a sudden everyone's confused, and then there's just this really loud like ringing noise, and they see a kid, and then he just disappears. So it's all just getting really random, really weird. Everyone's so confused, but they're like, we've got to keep going. That is when Latope brings them to a dead end. Scarlet and George realize it's not actually a dead end, but it's an old special like historical kind of lock where they have to move specific bricks, and if they just move one wrong, the whole roof is going to collapse. Anyway, of course they're so smart, so they get all the right rocks out and they find a room with a dead person that's just not decomposed, even though he has been there for over 700 years. This next part really confused me. They found some water passage somehow and using all these clues, and then Scarlet goes into the water, which is where she swims up into the room with all the treasure. They all follow Scarlet under the water and make it to this room where the treasure is just right in front of them. That was easy, right? Wrong. But of course, Latope is in the room too, and somehow he got there and is still completely dry. Even though Latope is a bit weird and he does make a not very good decision later, he's 100% my favourite character. But Ben Feldman is very lovely to look at. Once they get into the room, all the others are distracted by the treasure, and Scarlet and George are just finding the stone, and they are just going on about the stone. They find it, they're, oh my gosh, yay. But they don't realise that the others are trying to pull down a gate with the treasure behind it, because, you know, that's obviously not a trap. As they pull the gate to the treasure down, the ceiling starts caving on top of them, but somehow they all make it out alive, except Latope. He just disappears. They all assume he's dead, but who knows? So obviously at this point, Scarlet has gotten the stone, and Suxi got her arm hurt. Her arm is all cut up, and Scarlet uses the stone to heal Suxi's arm. They keep on moving, and Scarlet finds a symbol for as above, so below.
This is as above, so below. That phrase is believed to be the key to all magic. It means that what is within me is outside of me. As it is on earth, so it is in heaven. As I am, so are my cells, so are my atoms, so is God. Basically, as I believe the world to be, so it is.
I'm not following.
As above, so below.
So
if they carved a door on the ceiling...
There's gotta be a door on the floor, too.
Yeah.
So even though they are meant to be on the bottom of the catacombs, she realizes that they need to keep going down. And they can't turn around now. The ceiling just caved in behind them. They keep on going down, which is where they encounter a small passage with a written warning that says,
Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. What?
According to mythology, that's the inscription over the gates of hell.
Pap does not not want to go in there, obviously, but like, again, there is literally no other way out. The ceiling just collapsed. They start going through and then they realize they are in the same place they were just in, but everything's the other way around. So they have to go under the water again. And while they're going under, you can kind of see some lights flashing and you don't really know what's going on. And it kind of insinuates that something bad happens down there, but they don't really address it. It was all just really chaotic, even more chaotic than it already was. Now they're there back in the room with the dead guy, but this time he's like very decomposed. He is not in good shape. That is where they find La Taupe sitting there perfectly fine with not a scratch on him. They realize it's him and they turn the flashlight on, which is where he jumps up like a deer in headlights and just freezes. He's just really weird. Suxi starts approaching him slowly, and as soon as she touches him, he goes nuts. He attacked her and kills her. Rest in peace, Suxi. Pat pleads for Scarlet to use the stone to bring Suxi back to life, but Scarlet tells them that the stone cannot bring back the dead. Then, of course, Scarlet says the classic line,
We have to keep moving.
They're basically in the same place they already were, but weird stuff starts happening. They have to go down another hole, and after last time, when Benji's rope broke, you wouldn't think they would send him in last, but they did. We again see another weird lady. This is about the third time in the movie, who is holding a baby, which jump scares Benji, and he falls down the hole into his death. Rest in peace, Benji. You did not deserve none of this. You're just the cameraman. The cameraman never dies. Everyone knows that. You know, there's been like multiple times where I like feel unsafe, so I start recording because the cameraman never dies. They obviously have to leave Benji and keep going. They have to crawl through a pile of bones, which is where George freaks out because he thinks he's seen his dead brother. They have to go down some more corridors, which is where they see a whole car lit on fire with a guy just sitting there. Pap sees the guy, says, and then gets dragged towards the car. By what, you may ask? Nothing. He gets dragged by nothing. If you watch closely when they're filming this, you might realize that until Pap says, it wasn't my fault, he doesn't get dragged towards the car. There was some speculation that he could have said something to make it right, but instead he just blamed it on someone else. Pap definitely knew what was going on here, and also in the start of the movie you see that he has a burn mark on his hand. Some theories could be that he had a chance to save whoever it was in that car and he didn't, or he killed the person in the car. Also, another thing you notice if you look closely is that the guy who's sitting in the burning car is the same guy that was in the catacombs at the very start. When they were on the legal tour and they were looking to see if they could get to where they need to go from there, this guy said, "I'll go see this guy Papillon, he'll tell you where to go." And then the guy disappeared. It was the same guy, so obviously clearly that guy has some connection to Papillon. So to recap, Benji's dead, Suxi's dead, Papillon's dead, but somehow Zed, who has been pretty much irrelevant this whole time, is still alive. Then of course, the romance that has been blooming this whole time gets addressed. George holds Scarlet's face and tells her a whole, "No matter what happens, the time I spent with you was the best time of my life, blah blah blah." It gets even more weird here when they see a guy sitting in a rocking chair, and while they're trying to hide, this happens. Whatever those things were start attacking them, and one of them bites George on the neck, and luckily Scarlet and Zed manage to pull him back to safety. Scarlet tries to heal him with the stone, but it's not working, and then George, who's literally actively dying, says this.
What?
Vitriol.
Vitriol. The interior parts of the earth. By rectification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. By rectification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. Hidden stone.
That makes Scarlet realize that she does not have the right stone, and to get the right stone, she has to make it better, whatever the fuck that means. Scarlet realizes she has to put back the fake stone to get the real one. So obviously Scarlet, being the super smart girl she is, runs through hell alone to put back the stone. She has to climb up the wells and gets grabbed by all these hands covered in blood. Now she's soaked with blood too, and she finds her dad hanging. But when she takes off the mask, it's not her dad. It's all just really weird. Scarlet eventually makes it back, having to go the whole way through hell again. She puts the stone back just to look in a mirror and realize she's been the stone all along. What the fuck? So basically, the stone does fuck all. Scarlet's the real stone. They're trapped in hell. George is dying, Zed is doing God knows what, and Scarlet has to make it back to save George's life with, you know, herself, because she's the stone. So Scarlet is running back trying to save George, which is where she sees her father hanging. She goes over and she has her head on his chest. He is not in good shape at all. It is just odd to say the least, but this time you can actually see his face, so you know it's not just her. Scarlet's crying and she's apologizing for not picking up the phone when he last tried to call her, which is right before he took his own life. That's when her dead dad vanishes and she keeps on moving. Obviously, she makes it back to them completely fine because, you know, she's Scarlet, the perfect main character who's just really stupid but somehow survives. She grabs George's wounds, holding him, and then she kisses him. George gets up just fine. This also doesn't make sense to me because she has the power to heal. Does that mean she has to kiss everyone she wants to heal? Like, no thanks. George gets up and they start running away from something. I don't really know what it was, but I don't know, they seem scared. At this point, you're kind of like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm so confused, but I'm also loving it. Like, what's happening to them, you know? Which is where they find another hole. God knows how deep this hole is, or Satan knows, because, you know, they're in hell. Oh my god, that was so bad. So the hole is another one of these wild kind of holes, but this one is a lot deeper. Scarlet says they have to rectify themselves and then jump. She starts questioning George about why he keeps seeing his little brother in here, and then he admits that he was meant to get help for his little brother who was drowning but got lost. So his brother died waiting for George to come and save him. Like, poor George, like, he didn't do nothing wrong, he just feels guilty. So now she turns to Zed, who says he has a child that he knows exists and knows is his, but he's never seen before, and he keeps denying it's his kid. And that honestly makes me laugh. He's in hell suffering because he didn't raise his kid. Poor Zed left to get the milk and now he's in hell because of it. Maybe this should happen more often, I don't know. So they all hold hands and jump into this super long well, and of course they get up and they are fine. They think they're trapped until they find like a manhole and they're pulling it and nothing's happening. But then they realize they have to push it and put it to the side, which is where they realize they are back at civilization. So they have gone all the way down, but now they are really just where they need to be. So everything's upside down, so they have to awkwardly like get up and shuffle themselves up. But then of course the movie ends with a group hug where they say no words and just awkwardly hug, and then Zed walks away without saying anything. The movie ends with a quote from Scarlet that was filmed before they went into the catacombs. So basically, a little summary. Scarlet is an explorer looking for a magic rock, goes into the catacombs, enters hell, bunch of people die, they say weird shit, and they come out alive. And there's no stone. Scarlet is the stone. As much as I am making this movie sound a bit stupid, I truly think this movie is unlike any other. I watched this one day for the first time ever and then rewatched it the next day. That's how good it is. I've tried looking for another movie that even is like kind of a similar vibe to it, but there is nothing. This is truly a one-of-a-kind movie. All the characters have gone through hard times and have to really confront that they might have been wrong. And to come out alive, they have to relive some of the most traumatic life experiences. But then, of course, there's Zed, who, you know, just left his child. I feel like the camera angles and the emotions in this movie is really what makes it feel so real. And I feel like oftentimes when they use handheld cameras from, you know, that kind of perspective, it feels really forced. But this movie did it really well. Although this movie isn't scary, it's probably my second favorite horror movie. In this movie, they do kind of explore some serious topics. They explore George's survivor's guilt, and even though it wasn't his fault, he really couldn't help it. I feel like there's only a few movies that I will say you have to watch once in your life, and I truly think this is one of them. I just think this is one of the most perfect movies ever made, and I feel like I don't say that lightly. God works hard, but I worked harder making this video. This video literally took me 12 hours with barely any breaks to record, script, and edit. If you watch this all the way, thank you so much. Mwah! I love you. Thank you for watching.